Right?
By the way, speaking of Rutgers, the leading rusher in the Super Bowl.
How about that?
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, how about that?
I had to give you credit. He bought out. The one thing I saw about Philadelphia, why Philadelphia can't win, they don't have no backs. The only back is Jalen Hurts. I mean,
Well,
Miles Sanders finished
hit or
4th in the
miss.
NFL
They
in
didn't
rushing
give him
this
the
year,
ball
so-
that much.
Yeah, that was a big surprise to me that they didn't feed him more. And
They
the other
couldn't
one was
run the ball, really.
When you talk about the Eagles, I think everybody was in agreement. As good as their receiving core was, I thought the heartbeat of that team was their defensive line. They had 70 sacks collectively over the season.
They were a
4
non-factor.
guys. They never whispered. I mean, they were a rumor in the game.
And they ran, and the Chiefs and Pacheco was able to run on them. I mean, he ran for over 5 yards a carry.
What I did notice,
the Eagles couldn't run the ball at all outside of Hurts. Hurts played great. Outside
really
of
did
that fumble,
play
which was a horrible
but he made up
play.
for it. He made up for it next series.
That was bad. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I don't either.
Besides that play, he was phenomenal. He made every throw.
And he would have been the MVP had they won. That was
he came back and got it the next play. But what he did show people, 4th and 1, he not throwing no trick plays. 4th and 1, the Eagles like get behind.
We talked about him squatting 1,000 pounds.
That little scrum play is undefeated. Yeah. Like that little rugby scrum play that they run. You go see that all over the league.
Look,
they're going to manage it.
Chris Jones jumping over the pile.
Right. And he still got ways
They are
out.
going to look at the push because you put a defensive tackle and an offensive lineman back there, it's undefeated. You're just going to push him. I don't care how big the pile is defensively. Someone that's got that sturdy a base like he does.
You got to get like the rugby boys and get down in the weeds here.
Is that your speculation, or have you heard?
I actually saw on Twitter, I'll find the tweet, but I think Pelissero said the NFL, he expects him to take a look at that.
It used to be you couldn't do that.
No, it was absolutely. Remember the Bush push.
The Bush push, exactly.
For USC, and then, it just was always illegal, but now it's like a cheat code.
The NFL,
the NFL, to their credit, and I saw the interview with Roger Goodell a couple of days ago, his state of the league, and he said something that I really had kind of forgotten about the NFL that I really like. In the offseason, their competition committee looks at every single rule and decides.
It's good they do that. They don't get it right.
No, they don't get it right, but at least they look at it.
Well, instead of looking at every rule, I'm gonna get a competition committee and Roger Goodell some information. I mean, some opinion here. Where about the field?
That was not good.
Awful.
Yeah, that was not
awful.
good.
That was
somebody had joked at the party on the game-winning field goal. Watch that plant foot.
I looked at it.
They just put the field. That grass was just put in.
No, because Kansas City had played there earlier in the year, and they were complaining about the field then.
Well, this is the field where that whole stadium, that whole field, rolls out into the parking lot.
Right.
And my question to that is, if it rolls out into the parking lot, I don't know how deep it goes, but to me it was a root problem. If the grass roots were not in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I'm not sure what the hell happened, but
it's not good. But in the end, fantastic game.
Oh yeah.
I give it a 10 out of 1 to 10.
Fantastic game.
It was a great game. I think one point I wanted to make this morning. I think the triumvirate of Reed, Mahomes, and Kelsey is the modern day Gronk, Belichick, Brady. They are the Holy Trinity.
And Mahomes is a competitor.
Well, I actually think I wouldn't put either of those triumvirates number 1. How about that?
Who you got?
Well, you're wrong.
Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. Boom.
I'll tell you, as much as I'd love to agree with that, they did it at a time where player movement wasn't nearly as prevalent. In that era, guys started their careers, and for the most part, and I know that Joe Montana didn't because that was the beginning of player movement era.
Right.
But that was at a time when if you drafted a Joe Montana, you kept the Joe Montana.
To the end.
Right, but other teams got to keep their players too.
They did, but
so it was equal.
So the apples to apples comparison is the juggernaut in that era versus the juggernaut in the player movement era. And Brady and Bill and the Patriots were so good at manipulating and managing the player movement era that they were what they did was they found out, I thought Kraft found out, what are the pieces I must secure? Bill and Tom. And other than that, the other guys were kind of like pawns on the chessboard.
Right.
And they managed that so beautifully. But you're right. The Montana Rice and
Bill
Walsh. My goodness.
I think Andy Reid, now to me, as I watch it, is the greatest offensive mind ever to touch the pen in the league.
I don't agree with that.
He to me, you know why he's the greatest? Because he does it at such a level where when they had touchdowns, right?
Oh.
He's scheming people
Wide open.
Yeah.
And we called that too, by the way. As we're watching the game, we're like, they're going to
Those two
score.
touchdowns
And someone's going to
opposite.
be open there's not going to be anybody within 20 feet.
I'm like, where are the defenders? And this is a great Philadelphia team. And Travis Kelce said it best. He said, "Stop it, man.
Look.
I got Mahomes and Reed. Are you kidding me?"
Let me tell you something. Andy Reid, they ran him out of Philly, right? They ran him out of Philly.
Yeah, they did.
And look, he has become just the epitome of what a player's coach is. And I'm gonna just tell you the
love
something.
him.
Let me tell you why I like Andy Reid. He doesn't do it so much with his coaching. He does a great job. It's that State Farm commercial with the marker on the
That is
my
so
whole face.
good.
I like that commercial.
Good
We're
acting.
gonna get to the end of this.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this. That's so good.
They're back there doing ring around the rosy in crunch time.
By the way, if Kevin Stefanski done that, you guys would be killing him today.
Yes,
you'd
we
be
would.
killing him.
Yes,
Not if
we
you won
would.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you'd be killing him.
If he won the Super Bowl, I'd be applauding it.
But
Don't just ring around the rosy.
We were joking on all the
Good
close
coaches don't do
third and
ring around the
one and
rosy.
fourth and
They
one.
don't
I'm
be saying that, Mike.
Oh my God, Jacoby
They don't be
Brissett's
saying
coming
that.
into the game. Here he comes.
Jacoby Brissett would have got a lot of burn on them 4th and 1.
You know, to your point, and it sounds like it's, Duke and knee jerk.
Yes.
It sounds
Side
like it
Duke.
because this is just his second Super Bowl title.
Yeah.
But the eye test, it means something.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching. I loved how he used Travis Kelce in these big situations. I jokingly said, well, we know where the ball's going here. And so did the Eagles. And Andy Reid said, nope, I've got such confidence in my other guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to send him in motion. I'm going to suck the defense over here. And there's going to be somebody that everyone forgets about that's
Right
wide
over
open
here.
over here.
And everybody talked about defense wins championships. Wasn't the case.
No, not at
Great
all.
Eagles defensive line. They didn't do squat. The Chiefs offensive line dominated the ball.
They did.
The Chiefs were balanced. The Eagles were not. Eagles dominated time of possession. It didn't matter.
Hell, at one point they were 2-1 on the yard differential,
Yeah.
and it was a tie ball game.
Yeah.
When that game, I believe the Eagles were up, and we were talking about it. We said, I think it was 27 or 21 or something like that.
Yeah, they were kicking field goals.
They
And we
kicking
said
the
at the
field
time,
goal.
that's how they're going to lose.
I say go for it.
If
I was
you-
at
Yeah,
it.
I wanted to talk to Bull about that. Tell him the situation
Go ahead.
on the 4th and
Yeah.
6 when they kicked the field goal. Were you yelling for them to go for it there?
When the Eagles,
It
When
was
the Eagles-
21-24.
It was 24-21.
Eagles had the ball.
It was 4th and 6, and they decided to kick the field goal. McNuggets was screaming right away.
I would have 100% gone for a touchdown
Yeah,
there.
and McNuggets said the same
He
thing.
did it the whole game. He went for it on 4th down.
Well,
They
they've
got
done
it
all
every
year.
time.
Now, I will say this.
It was a little longer.
6 a little long.
And that's the thing. So stats can be very misleading sometimes. The reason that they had the best 4th down percentage in the NFL this year was because of what we saw last night on 3rd and short and 4th and short. They've got a quarterback with the strongest legs in the league, and they do this, massive bull rush from behind. So it worked. But 4th and 6, that's a risky proposition.
Here's why I would have done it. Because in my mind, if I'm the Eagles, if I'm, what the hell's their coach's name again? I can't think of it.
Sirianni.
Nick
Sirianni. I'm like, well, when the Chiefs get the ball, I'm going to assume there's a good chance they're going to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so what's the difference if I'm up 3 or 6?
That was exactly my point, Bull.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm down
but
either way with a
Again,
touchdown.
to me, the 60 minutes is a game of collecting points, the most you can get. And I understand the risk reward that goes along with it. I thought that the risk of getting nothing there was too big.
Yeah, so was I.
So I'm collecting points.
But
Give
that's
me
what
the
he
3.
that's what he did all game. That's what he's done all year.
He has, but on 4th and 6, they're not going for it all year on 4th and 6. They're just not.
Well, I'm sure they have. I mean, not all year.
I don't
on
know
4th
what
and
the
6.
fourth. I don't know
But
what their
also,
stats
Bull-
are, but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
But also, Bull, all year they did trust their defense. So they got after quarterbacks. They had a lot of guys up for the defensive line. If you go for 3, you tell your defense, look, man, all y'all got to do is hold
Yeah,
them
but
to
gee,
3.
their
Right?
defense was not dominating the game.
They hadn't. I
They
think
had-
Kansas
no.
City punted 2 or 3
They
times,
hadn't.
maybe.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' offensive line is just as good as the Eagles' defensive line.
But we did not hear that. We did not hear that going into that.
Oh, I said that. Nobody was listening.
The
I said it.
99% of the world was like, "Oh no, the Eagles is dominant."
And let's be honest, the Eagles' defensive line is better. They didn't play better last night, but they are
But
better.
they didn't play because they were also playing another great unit in the Chiefs' offensive line.
Well, that was the equalizer.
That was it.
But the other thing was, too, and they talked about this during the telecast, that the Eagles came into this game with the mindset that we want Mahomes to throw the football at 2.5 seconds or sooner. Now, that was the Chiefs' game plan all along, smartly.
Because of his ankle.
Because of his ankle.
Yeah.
So it's almost one of those things, when the announcer said that, I'm like, wow, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because obviously the longer Mahomes can extend plays, the more damage he can do. But on a limited wheel, like he was, I thought maybe it would have been a better play to try to come wide from the edges, keep him in the pocket, and don't give him those quick short throws. Because everything was 1-2 out. It was so fast the way they did it.
What's amazing is, like, Mahomes gets hurt against Jacksonville, and he still wins that game. All right, Jacksonville's not that good. But on a bad wheel, he beats the Bengals, who are arguably the third best team in football.
Right.
Then he re-injures it at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl against arguably the first or second best team in football. And he dominates in the second half.
He's a player.
It's insane.
It's not close.
No,
This guy is capable.
I don't know what you guys thought, but at the party, the general consensus was he's got a lot of drama to him. His ankle is always okay when they're moving the ball and he's scoring touchdowns. It's always after a pick, or in this case, it was a sack on third down, which forced a punt. And he looked like he got shot with a cannon in his ankle.
What are you saying, he's making it up?
I'm not saying he's making it up. I think there's a little flop to him, and I think there is a little
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that.
The real nasty limp, and then as soon as he runs the ball the next time, he's off like a dart.
Listen, you turn your ankle, if you sprain your ankle, and then even when you come back and you hit it again, you're going to limp like that.
And he probably got shot up at halftime.
And I'll tell you this, though. Here's a kid that grew up in a locker room. You could tell that.
Yeah,
His father
no
was a
question.
professional baseball player.
Yeah.
You could tell he had been around sports. He's not. And the thing I like about Mahomes, he ain't quit on you.
No.
You're like, nah, I'll be all right.
Doesn't no quit. One of the things that we pointed out last night while we were watching the game, and it made me angry, because I was rooting for Kansas City because I do like to watch dynasties and greatness in action.
Lot to learn from that.
One thing that I commented on that drove me nuts was after the Eagles scored the drive to go up 28-27.
Okay.
They took a shot of the sideline, and I counted 7 different Chiefs players screaming and pointing and emoting and leading. Mm-hmm. And I even said at the time, when have we ever seen that from the Browns sideline?
Chris Jones went off.
Ever.
Chris Jones went
He
off.
went off for the first
Jones
half.
did go off in the first half.
We saw receivers. We saw defensive line. We saw Pachenko. We saw.
They were all doing it.
Everybody was focused and lit.
You're locked in.
And when people say everybody does not get emotional, there's only a couple people not allowed getting emotional.
Quarterback and
that's
coach?
the quarterback and the coach.
Yep.
Everybody else, you better be playing off emotion. If you're not ready to go, I'm telling you, like when we do these drills and you go do this stuff and you do this high intensity workouts, go watch what people do during the off season. If you not communicating, if you ain't amped up, we starting over. Start this drill right on over.
I tell you who came to life. Juju Smith-Schuster came to life.
Yeah.
He came to life.
He had 7 catches. The rest of the playoffs, he had 4 combined, right?
But yesterday,
you had 2 excellent teams who both played excellent football overall. And I know one of the questions was, were the Eagles the better team? I don't think so. In the end, no. I think
if they played that game 10 times, how many did the Chiefs win?
I think it's probably 6-4 Chiefs. Could be 5-5. I mean, I think they're really close.
That's a 5-5.
They're really good.
It looked like a 5-5.
That's a 5-5.
I mean, it's 2 great teams. You have
the good thing is
I think the things that killed them were
the fumble.
The fumble, and if someone would have told you before the game, KC's going to get a free 7 spot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
now your question is, well, then how
Right.
the hell are the Eagles going to beat
Right,
them?
right.
Because every line had this within a point or two.
Right.
And you wondered at that moment, because Hurts had played great before that, and you wondered at that moment, okay, is he going to kind of fall apart here?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
He
fall
did.
apart.
He played. He
Played
had
great.
that bad moment. He played great again. They were
His
moving.
deep ball touchdown, though, was a bad throw. The
one that
receiver just.
AJ caught?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brown just made a great adjustment.
Well, I
but
don't know if it was a bad throw.
It
It wasn't
was
a great
off mark.
throw.
It was
wasn't a
off mark.
great throw, but
It was just a matter of, Brown made the adjustment to come back to the
It was a
ball,
great
and
catch.
the defensive back just got beat.
his arm strength hasn't been the same since he got hurt.
I've noticed that
It factored in, but I think the bottom line to me is I believe in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I became more of a believer
He
last
showed
night.
a lot of toughness. Coming back from that injury, he had no running game beside. The whole running game was him.
Yeah.
They
I
couldn't
was.
run the ball yesterday.
I could see why his teammates follow him. Right.
Yeah, he's a
Because
leader.
He's a leader.
No
You
doubt.
Can see, and here's a guy who's been kicked, been down,
Got
been
benched
doubted,
in the national championship game.
been
Yeah.
doubted,
Yeah.
resurrected himself, right? Bet on himself. And every time when somebody comes back with the naysay, he comes back a little harder. And when I tell you, if you get a chance, go watch the post-game interview, and he talks about it, right?
Yeah, that quote right there is pretty profound because, lessons are learned in defeat.
Yep.
And it's what you do with those lessons and how you manifest them moving forward. Does it enrage you? Does it empower you? Does it motivate you? And that quote sounds like
you don't have many people in Philly. Remember when he first got there, they were calling for his head. They were like, "Why'd you get this kid? This kid's a terrible selection."
Yeah.
And even when he got to play, they're like, "Oh Lord, we can't win with this guy." You don't get many people saying that in Philly now, right?
No.
Who would you rather have the next 5 years, Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson?
I think Jalen Hurts.
I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
Me too.
He's more sturdy. He's thicker. He's definitely stronger.
He's a leader.
And for what
He's a
they're
leader.
doing, tucking the ball and running a lot, I think that we're seeing the ultimate question of Lamar Jackson was sustainability. And I think that there were varying answers. Well, you could do that for 2 years and you're going to wear out. Then others would say 4 years. But everybody agreed on this. He won't be playing when Tom Brady, at Tom Brady's age.
Well,
like
nobody
that.
will, though.
No, but
Right.
when you rely that heavily on that part of the game, you have to be a great thrower of the football, but
Yeah.
you also have to be built,
In
sturdy
fairness
enough
to
to take
Lamar,
that.
look at the team that Jalen Hurts has around him compared to Lamar.
Yeah, I know. But Lamar did have some pretty good cast characters around him at times.
Not on offense.
They finished 14-2 the year they lost in the first
No,
round.
I know, but-
I mean, that was a one hell of a team.
Defense, he's at, but he hasn't had the
Well,
great.
he was the offense when they were 14-2.
Right.
And what I look at so much now. To me, I look at the way you call games and the way you scheme things up, your playbook. If you look at it, the difference between this Eagles offense and Lamar Jackson's offense is Lamar Jackson plays with the game condensed, right? There's guys in the middle of the field, so yes, he can run the ball, but there's not very many opportunities where he is just clean running and he doesn't get tackled in the middle of the field by somebody. You watch Philadelphia, everything's wide. Everything, they stop you with the RPO game, they throw it quick, they get out of here. And Jalen Hurts, when he's running, he's usually running or scrambling when there's no one around, or it's one guy, I got to make him miss
I would
and
say
get
this,
out.
G, and because I feel like I'm a little prisoner moment because even though I'm arguing Lamar, I would actually take Jalen Hurts. So maybe it's a little prisoner moment. I think Jalen Hurts sees the field better than Lamar Jackson does.
That's fair.
I think Jalen Hurts is
Jalen Hurts made some
looking to
unbelievable
throw
throws.
still when he's running.
Yeah, once
Yeah.
Lamar decides to go, he's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. And there are plays where
And by the
Jalen
way,
Hurts
that's
is-
exactly what Mahomes does. I mean,
Oh,
Mahomes,
he's always
all the
looking
way
to
until he gets to the line of scrimmage,
Right.
he's
Yes,
cocked
yes.
and ready
He's
to go.
pump faking 6 yards downfield.
I know he is.
But
Yesterday he did that. He was way
Mahomes-
past the line of scrimmage. But sometimes defenders lose that in the moment. Maybe they think he's behind the line of scrimmage and they buy it.
I think Mahomes, there's zero doubt in my mind that as long as Mahomes doesn't have some sort of career-changing injury, that he will ultimately be the greatest quarterback ever.
Wow, I can't go that far. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If he retires, comes out tomorrow and says,
Yeah.
guys, I've taken too many hits to the head that I haven't told you guys about, and for the health, my long-term health, and for my family, I am calling it a career. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer if he does that?
Yes.
Yes.
No
He is for
question.
me too.
No doubt.
doubt.
100%.
No
I
doubt.
don't think there's